Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Pallavi Manchanda and with me is Nishit Kumar, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. First, the headlines. World Health Organization declares monkeypox a global health emergency. Russian missiles hit Ukraine's southern port of Odisha after deals signed between the two nations to unblock grain exports from Black Sea ports. European Union needs a new strategy on war in Ukraine as sanctions against Russia not working, says Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Indian parliamentarians bid farewell to outgoing President Ram Nath Kovind, to Draupadi Murmu to take oath as 15th President on Monday. Merchandise exports from India jumped by nearly 27% to $235 billion during first 6 months of calendar year 2022. India's National Broadcasting Day being observed, Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur lauds AIR and DD News for providing authentic news. Tokyo Olympics medalist Neeraj Chopra to be in action in men's javelin throw final at World Athletics Championships in Oregon, US on Sunday. World Health Organization (WHO) has declared monkeypox a global health emergency. It came at the end of the second meeting of the WHO's Emergency Committee on the virus. The classification is the highest alert that the WHO can issue and follows a worldwide upsurge in cases. WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said more than 16,000 cases have now been reported from 75 countries. There have been 5 deaths so far as a result of the outbreak. There are only 2 other such health emergencies at present, the coronavirus pandemic and the continuing effort to eradicate polio. Russian missiles hit Ukraine's southern port of Odisha on Saturday morning, the Ukrainian military said. It has threatened the landmark deal signed between the two nations just the day before to unblock grain exports from Black Sea ports and ease global food shortages caused by the war. The deal signed on Friday by Moscow and Kyiv and mediated by the United Nations and Turkey was hailed as a breakthrough after nearly 5 months of Russian military action in Ukraine. Under the terms of Friday's deal, Russia agreed not to target ports while grain shipments are in transit. The deal is seen as crucial to curbing soaring global food prices by allowing grain exports to be shipped from Black Sea ports, including Odisha. UN officials had said on Friday they hoped the agreement would be operational in a few weeks, but it was not yet clear if that would still be possible given Saturday's strikes. 2 Russian caliber missiles hit infrastructure at the Odisha port, while another 2 were shot down by air defense forces, Ukraine's Operational Command South wrote on the Telegram messaging app. It is unclear whether there were casualties or substantial damage. A Russian Defense Ministry statement on Saturday outlining progress in the war did not mention any strike in Odessa. The ministry did not immediately reply to a Reuters request for comment. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres unequivocally condemned the reported strikes, a spokesperson said, adding that all parties had committed to the grain export deal. Spokesperson Farhan Haq said in a statement that these products are desperately needed to address the global food crisis and ease the suffering of millions of people in need around the globe. He said full implementation by the Russian Federation, Ukraine and Turkey is imperative. On Friday, Guterres had called the deal a beacon on the Black Sea. The European Union needs a new strategy on the war in Ukraine as sanctions against Russia have not worked. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said this in a speech in Romania on Saturday. He said a new strategy is needed which should focus on peace talks and drafting a good peace proposal instead of winning the war. Orban, re-elected for a 4th consecutive term in April, reiterated that Hungary, a NATO member, would stay out of the war in neighbouring Ukraine. He has said before that Hungary is unwilling to support EU embargoes or limitations on Russian gas imports as that would undermine its economy, which is about 85% reliant on Russian gas imports. He said in his speech that the Western strategy on Ukraine has been built on 4 pillars: that Ukraine can win a war against Russia with NATO weapons, that sanctions would weaken Russia and destabilize its leadership, that sanctions would hurt Russia more than Europe, and that the world would line up in support of Europe. Orban said this strategy has failed as governments in Europe are collapsing like dominoes, energy prices have surged, and a new strategy was needed now. Prime Minister Viktor Orban said, "We are sitting in a car that has a puncture in all four tires. It is absolutely clear that the war cannot be won in this way." This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter @AIR News Alerts.
India's outgoing President Ramnath Kovind has called upon the political parties to rise above a partisan approach and think about the world needed for the development and welfare of the people of the country with the spirit of nation first. In his address at the farewell function organized at the Central Hall of Parliament, Mr. Kovind said that if the whole nation is considered as a family, differences are bound to crop up once in a while. Such differences can be resolved peacefully and harmoniously through dialogue. He said citizens and political parties have many constitutional avenues open to them, including protests, and after all, the father of the nation employed the weapon of satyagraha for that purpose. But he was equally concerned about the other side. Mr. Kovind opined that citizens have a right to protest, to press for the demands for this right should be exercised always in Gandhian ways. Mr. Kovind also expressed his gratitude towards the parliamentarians, saying that it was not possible for him in discharge of the responsibility of President without their support. Speaking on the occasion, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla said that it is a proud occasion for the members of both the Houses of Parliament who have gathered to express their gratitude and reverence to Ramnath Kovind on behalf of the nation. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Union Ministers and MPs from both the Houses were present on this occasion. Ms. Draupadi Murmu has been elected as the 15th President of India. Chief Justice of India, Justice N.V. Ramana, will administer the oath of the office to Ms. Murmu on Monday at the Central Hall of Parliament. India's merchandise exports during the first 6 months for the calendar year 2022 jumped about 27% to $235 billion compared with $185.9 billion a year ago. The country's imports during the January to June 2022 stood at $361.1 billion against $258.6 billion in the corresponding period last year. The total merchandise export was $421.9 billion during 2021-22 against the export target of $400 billion, achieving over 105% of the export target. Barring a few sectors, all the major sectors during the January to June 2022 showed a positive trend with an overall growth rate of 26.7%. The government has taken many remedial measures to boost exports. These include extending the foreign trade policy and providing assistance through several schemes to promote exports, such as Trade Infrastructure for Export Scheme and the Market Access Initiative system. The role of Indian missions abroad towards promoting Indian trade, tourism, technology and investment goals has also been enhanced. In India's Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the Border Security Force opened fire at a Pakistani drone after spotting it near the international border in Kanachak sector of Jammu on Friday night. The security forces of the BSF observed a blinking red light coming from Pakistan's side in Kanachak area. They opened fire on it and have launched a search operation in the area. Earlier, police had busted 3 Lashkar-e-Taiba modules by arresting 7 of its members. The police recovered huge cache of arms, ammunition and explosive materials reportedly dropped by 20 drone sorties from Pakistan.
The National Broadcasting Day is being observed on Saturday in India. On this day in 1927, the first ever radio broadcast in the country went on the air from the Bombay station under a private company, the Indian Broadcasting Company. On 8th of June 1936, the Indian State Broadcasting Service became All India Radio. All India Radio has been serving to inform, educate and entertain the masses, truly living up to its motto, Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai. On the occasion, Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur addressed a function at Akashvani Bhavan in New Delhi. He sounded a cautious note to the media, saying that if somewhere a wrong perception is getting created about private media with utterances of media trials, then they need to introspect about their functioning. Referring to Chief Justice of India N.V. Raman's remarks that Kangaroo courts being run by the media are detrimental to the health of the democracy, the minister said. This comment raises serious question over the way media functions. The minister lauded All India Radio News and DD News, saying that they are known for providing authentic news to the people, citing Reuters' report wherein All India Radio has been voted as the most trusted electronic media organization in the country. Mr. Thakur said AIR has maintained its credibility over the years. Highlighting the importance of quality content to attract more audience, he said AIR and Doordarshan must work to adopt technological advancement. The minister lauded the efforts of All India Radio for broadcasting the program Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav to highlight the contribution of the freedom fighters and unsung heroes.
AIR has been an integral part of the lives of every Indian. We have to adopt the new technology and work in that direction, and also especially during the 75th year of independence, when we are celebrating the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, our focus should be on that, what we have achieved so far, what was our freedom struggle, putting more focus on that, but also creating some programs where people should come forward and commit themselves towards the Amrit Kaal, how they can contribute towards making India one of the greatest nations in the world. That should be our idea.
Speaking on the importance of radio as a platform, Mr. Anurag Thakur said that many Prime Ministers have come, but none saw the value of radio as Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who made it a platform of choice for his monthly Mann Ki Baat to connect directly with the people of the country. Speaking on this occasion, Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, Dr. L. Murugan, said radio played a crucial role during the freedom movement and continues to play a vital role in the development story of India. India External Affairs Minister S. Shankar met with Indian Foreign Service officers during their Mid-Career Training Program 2 on Saturday. He said they represent a confident generation and are ready to deliver on national goals and global expectations. Dr. Shankar in a tweet said that a big picture discussion happened on the changing world and India's growing importance in it. External Affairs Minister of India Dr. S. Shankar has congratulated the people of Egypt on their National Day on Saturday. In a tweet, Dr. Shankar offered greetings and best wishes to Foreign Minister Samay Shokri and the government and people of Egypt. He said our long-standing partnership continues to grow. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you an AIR News special program, National Broadcasting Day.
Ever since its invention, radio has made it possible for people from all corners of a city, country and the world to be part of historical movements, speeches, events and developments. The one and only one voice for the citizens of India has always been All India Radio, reaching out to almost every household across the length and breadth of the country. All India Radio began its journey as a private company called Indian Broadcasting Company Limited, IBC, on July 23, 1927. This is the reason why July 23rd is celebrated as National Broadcasting Day. Radio is the mass medium that reaches the widest audience in the world. The name Akashvani, which means voice or announcement from the skies, was formally adopted for the national broadcaster in 1956 with the motto Bahujan Hitaya, Bahujan Sukhaya. And there couldn't be a better day to recall the Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore's composition, the poem entitled Akashvani, written in 1938. On the inauguration of the Calcutta shortwave transmission, as noted by historian Chandrika Kaul.
Hark to Akashvani upsurging from here below. The earth is bathed in heaven's glory, its purple glow. Across the blue expanse is firmly planted the altar of the muse. The lyre unheard of light is throbbing with human hues. From earth to heaven, distance conquered, in waves of light flows the music of man's divining. Fancy's flight to east and west, speech careers. Swift as the sun, the mind of man reaches heaven's confines, its freedom won.
I'm sure all those listening to us at the moment would have recalled this tune. It must have given some goosebumps as this sweet signature tune takes you down the memory lane of All India Radio. It was Czech composer Walter Kosman who composed the opening signature tune of All India Radio based on Raga Shivaranjani of Indian classical music. In many ways, All India Radio has been a chronicler and preserver of history with the first speeches of freedom fighters, national events, first music compositions, drama, commentaries, loads of it in the archives today. As we celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, let's listen to the speech that was of great inspiration for many freedom fighters across the country. Both the Azad Hind Radio of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and the Congress Radio helped rouse Indians against the British before independence. Here is an excerpt of the speech of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose of 1943.
हमने जो आजादी की लड़ाई छेड़ रखी है, उसे तब तक जारी रखना होगा जब तक हमें मुकम्मल आजादी हासिल न हो। विभिन्न दिशाओं में बिखरी सारी ताकत जितना शीघ्र हम केंद्रित कर सकेंगे, उतना ही जल्द हम आजादी हासिल कर सकेंगे।
Most of us brush aside the music that good old radio can bring into our lives. Back in the days, even owning a radio was a matter of pride. Until the advent of television, radio was a prime source of entertainment. Many All India Radio listeners still recall those days when the radio broadcasted a coherent mix of news, soothing music, drama, cricket commentaries and gripping topical talks. The voice of Melvin DeMello, an iconic and most celebrated broadcaster of All India Radio, reverbs in the mind even today. He was best known for his non-stop 7-hour commentary on Mahatma Gandhi's last journey in 1948.
Now as the flames begin to lick, a roar goes up from the crowd. Now the fire is caught, more people sandalwood are being placed, garlands being flung into the air, policemen's sticks being raised to try and keep the crowds down. We're trying to move in closer to get a last glimpse of the father of our nation.
The radio was used to bring the wars of 1962, 1965 and 1971 to our living rooms. It is voices of these people, particularly Surajit Sen, Melvin DeMello and Neil Batra, which not just informed you but which even in that very sober way gave you a bit of the excitement or the touching aspect of the war. Surajit Sen, the man who documented the December 16, 1971 signing of Declaration of Independence of Bangladesh, the sports commentator and All India Radio's chief newsreader, was the first Indian to report the liberation of East Bengal, now Bangladesh, on December 16, 1971.
I was in Calcutta when they flew me from here and they dropped me, find your way. And I was stuck near the Red Fort. And I said, I want to see the general. Then they said, there's no plane going. This is only an ammunition plane. And that'll be going tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock. You've got to get in the plane. And that's how I went with an ammunition plane. No seat, nothing. But all the ammunition being taken to Bangladesh at the time. It was a thrill, the excitement to know what it is like.
Here is another nostalgic memory to share this evening from the entertainment world. The iconic voice of Amin Siani, a great entertainer and newsreader. In 2009, he was presented with the Padma Shri Award, tells us when and how he got into All India Radio.
मैं करीब 9 साल का था तब मेरे बड़े भाई हमीद सायानी साहब जो मेरे गुरु रहे हैं ब्रॉडकास्टिंग में, वो मुझे ऑल इंडिया रेडियो के बॉम्बे स्टेशन में ले गए थे.
As we explore the veteran world of iconic broadcasters, our newsreader Devkinandan Pandey cannot be left behind, whose newsreading motivated a whole generation.
हमारा मुल्क तो आप जानते हैं इतना बड़ा मुल्क और गांवों का मुल्क है, तो वहाँ तो रेडियो की उतनी ही इम्पोर्टेंस आज भी है जितनी पहले थी, उसमें कोई कमी नहीं आई. अब ये दूसरी बात है कि धीरे धीरे टेलीविजन उन्हें भी खा जाए, उन पर भी हावी हो जाए, मगर उसमें अभी बहुत वक्त लगेगा.
On 6 September 1990, the Indian Parliament passed the Prasar Bharati Broadcasting Corporation of India Act. The purpose behind the act was to give the broadcaster more autonomy and freedom like in many other countries. Prasar Bharati has 470 broadcasting centers across the country, covering approximately 92% of the country's area and 99.19% of the total population. The outreach can simply be assessed from the fact that All India Radio broadcasts program in 23 languages and 179 dialects. Accurate, unbiased, credible news is its forte as it broadcasts 607 news bulletins in 92 languages, dialects including 12 foreign languages. Leveraging technology, AIR has evolved with its digital footprints. On Twitter, AIR News Alerts has more than 3 million followers. News on Air mobile app has more than 1 million subscribers. On this app, you can listen to all the radio channels of All India Radio in digital form. Now, radio can be enjoyed even by connecting directly to the internet. During natural disasters, the role of public service broadcaster becomes even more relevant. Be it tsunami or cyclone Fani or Bhuj earthquake, radio has been the mainstay for the people. Many people compare the pandemic we are still experiencing to a crisis situation. Millions affected, global involvement, and new kinds of crises and emergencies. In the COVID-19 context, the radio played a major role in helping people feel less alone and closer to each other. True to its mandate of Bahujan Hitaya, All India Radio worked round the clock and in fact doubled the transmission of its news bulletins to allay fears in the minds of the people and make them aware about the healthcare facilities.
Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe on Saturday instructed officials to accelerate the fuel distribution process and focus on providing fuel for school and public transport. He ordered officials to provide fuel to vehicles that transport school children from all state-run fuel depots, media reports said. The instruction was given at a meeting to address the fuel crisis in the country as schools will be reopened after several weeks of closure due to fuel shortages. He said fishermen, farmers and those engaged in tourism also need to be provided adequate quantities of fuel. European Union Ambassador to Afghanistan, Andros von Brandt, said that there is a consensus on the non-recognition of the Taliban government in the Western world. He said this while discussing the situation in Afghanistan and the increasing hunger crisis in the country. According to Brandt, the world is trying to provide humanitarian assistance to the people of Afghanistan, not to the government which came to power by means not provided for in the country's constitution, Hama Press reported. Tolo News, quoting him, says that there is a tremendous consensus on the non-recognition of the Taliban government in the entire Western world. He doesn't see that changing in the near future.
Tokyo Olympics medalist Neeraj Chopra will be aiming for his first ever World Athletics Championships medal when he takes the field for the men's javelin throw final on Sunday morning Indian time in Eugene, Oregon, United States. Neeraj had sealed his place for the final on his very first attempt as he registered a throw of 88.39 meter in Group A when 83.50 was the qualifying mark required to cement a place in the final. Rohit Yadav is another Indian who cemented his place in the final after he finished at the 6th spot in the Group B qualifying round. In cricket, India will take on West Indies in the second ODI at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain tomorrow evening. The visitors are already up 1-0 in the 3-match series, winning the nerve-wrecking first match on Friday by 3 runs. Now, India will be looking to seal the series at the same venue.
Now, let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. First, we have a look at the press reports on China. The Asia Times reports that in one of the most critical recent arms deals in the Pacific, the U.S. State Department has approved a $235 million sale of 80 joint air-to-surface standoff missile, extended-range missiles to Australia, according to news reports. Although Australia is 7,400 kilometers from China, it still views it as a threat to its democratic values and system. The Taiwan News writes, the Biden administration said China may try to impose a no-fly zone over Taiwan to prevent the visit of U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The Tribune observes that a couple of high-level meetings between India and China and Central Asia will make further attempts to resolve the standoff in Ladakh. And now let's have a look at the press reports on Nepal. My Republica reports that during a meeting with Indian Ambassador Naveen Srivastav in Kathmandu, Nepal Minister for Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation Jeevan Ram Shresht urged him to provide a new air route for Gautam Budh International Airport to operate at full capacity. Nepali Congress President and Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba has said that the date for the upcoming election to the House of Representatives and the Province Assembly would be announced soon, reports Rising Nepal. And now let's have a look at the press reports from Pakistan. The Dawn reports that the Supreme Court of Pakistan on Saturday allowed Punjab Chief Minister Hamza Shahbaz to stay as a trustee Chief Minister until the hearing resumes on Monday. The court heard a plea filed by PML-Q leader Chaudhry Parvez Elahi challenging Punjab Assembly Deputy Speaker Zost Muhammad Mazari favouring election of Hamza as Chief Minister. The Express Tribune reports that Pakistan, in a desperate attempt to save the country from default through emergency sale of states' assets to foreign countries, the Federal Cabinet has approved an ordinance to bypass all the procedures for the process and also abolished regulatory checks, including the applicability of 6 relevant laws.
According to ANI report, raising concern over the enforced disappearances and a spike in fake encounters of missing persons, Baloch activists plan to protest on July 24 in Berlin. Baloch social media activists requested all the political and social activists to join the demonstration. The Balochistan Post writes that head of Balochistan Liberation Front and renowned Baloch leader Dr. Allah Nizar Baloch has said that the world must realize now that Baloch's struggle for independence is rightful and just. The gold medalist doctor turned resistance leader's statement comes as Balochistan is engulfed in anger over murder of at least 9 forcibly disappeared persons. The victim families have called it fake encounter by Pakistani security forces. A quick look at the headlines once again. World Health Organization declares monkeypox a global health emergency. Russian missiles hit Ukraine's southern port of Odisha after deals signed between the two nations to unblock grain exports from Black Sea ports. European Union needs a new strategy on war in Ukraine as sanctions against Russia not working, says Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Indian parliamentarians bid farewell to outgoing President Ramnath Kovind, Draupadi Murmu to take oath as 15th President on Monday. Merchandise exports from India jumped by nearly 27% to $235 billion during first 6 months of calendar year 2022. India's National Broadcasting Day being observed, Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur lauds AIR and DD News for providing authentic news. Tokyo Olympics medalist Neeraj Chopra to be in action in men's javelin throw final at World Athletics Championships in Oregon, United States on Sunday. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Egypt. And with that, we end this bulletin. We will be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.